It's me, Red Planet, coming to you once again with another video. This is Fair Use, Everything Goes. Let's listen to him talk about this heat wave we all seeing, and some of us are experiencing. Let's get into it, Israel.
Forecasts. Over the past 10 days, more than 1,500 people have died from abnormal heat in Europe. Moscow has become hotter than Egypt and Thailand. In the Atacama Desert, snow fell for the first time in 10 years, while thermometers show plus 70 degrees on metal surfaces. At the same time, nighttime temperature doesn't drop below plus 30 degrees, turning many people's sleep into torture. The Russian capital found itself at the epicenter of a heat dome, a phenomenon that turns entire continents into giant ovens. Air masses from the hottest regions of the planet are trapped over Europe by a powerful anticyclone. And weather forecasters warn the peak of the anomaly is still ahead. What is happening to the planet now? Why are climate records being broken every week? And most importantly, what forecast awaits us next? For many, it became puzzling when in the morning in Moscow, the thermometer showed plus 37 degrees, and this is still in the shade. In the sun, asphalt heated up to plus 50 degrees, and entrance doors of buildings became so hot that it's impossible to touch them with bare hands. But the most shocking thing is not in the thermometer numbers, but in the fact that Moscow, in the height of July, turned out to be hotter than...
So the earth is heating up, and it's not just the sun that's doing it. Though the sun is heating up the earth, Nibiru is causing it too. Heating the earth up hotter than the sun. And they can't take it. And a lot of them are dying from this intense heat that these suns are bringing.
Resorts in Egypt, Thailand, and Sochi. The Russian capital literally turned into an African desert where every breath of air feels like breathing from a red-hot furnace. This climate nightmare struck Russia suddenly. A powerful anticyclone brought scorching air masses from Asia Minor to the country's territory. These flows, heated in the hottest regions of the northern hemisphere, created a real heat dome over Russia. The scientific director of Russia's Hydrometeorological Center explains the mechanism of this natural phenomenon in simple words: air masses move from the south and southeast. Add to this intensive heating by the sun, and you get temperature above 30 degrees even at night. Under such conditions, the human body simply doesn't have time to recover after daytime heat. A high-altitude cyclone blocks cloudiness, allowing solar rays to fall unobstructed on the Earth's surface. As a result, an effect of a giant oven is created where the sun itself plays the role of a heating element, and a dense layer of hot air that can't go anywhere serves as a lid. Imagine a pot with a tightly closed lid on maximum heat. This is approximately how this natural mechanism works. Climatologists call such periods heat waves. The name sounds gentle and almost romantic, but in reality, this is one of the most dangerous natural phenomena for humans. During abnormal heat, mortality sharply increases, a fact that has long been known. Meanwhile, Moscow has already broken temperature records set in 1996 and 2010. But this is only the beginning. Weather forecasters warn that the peak of anomalies is still ahead, and temperature may reach unprecedented heights for the Moscow region. So-called tropical nights when temperature doesn't drop below plus 25 degrees become especially dangerous. Cities turn into real concrete deserts where every surface radiates deadly heat. Energy systems are cracking at the seams as millions of air conditioners work at maximum power, creating severe load on electrical networks. What is happening now resembles scenes from Hollywood blockbusters about the end of the world more than ordinary weather fluctuations. Over the past 10 days, almost 1,500 people have died from abnormal heat in Europe. A figure that makes any sane person shudder. The World Meteorological Organization is sounding the alarm. The period from 2023 to 2027 will become the hottest in the entire history of human civilization. The probability of such a scenario is a colossal 98%. This is no longer a forecast, but a scientific fact based on analysis of climate models and what we see now. For the first time since the existence of Homo sapiens, the average temperature on Earth's surface will, with 66% probability, reach the critical mark above pre-industrial level. Scientists initially assumed that the planet would reach this threshold only in 2040, but something went wrong. Climate processes accelerated so much that experts are in frank bewilderment. The mechanism of what's happening is terrifying in its simplicity and simultaneous complexity. Three factors converged in a perfect storm: industrial human activity, greenhouse gases in the atmosphere, and the natural El Niño phenomenon. El Niño is an abnormal warming of the upper water layer in the central and eastern parts of the equatorial Pacific Ocean, which can drastically change the climate of the entire planet. The scale of what's happening is mind-boggling. In China's Guizhou province, abundant seasonal rains caused rivers to overflow their banks, turning streets into raging torrents capable of sweeping away cars like toys. 80,000 people were evacuated from the disaster zone. An entire city of people was forced to flee from the elements. Meanwhile, at the other end of the world, a diametrically opposite but no less dramatic picture is unfolding. South Africa was covered by a powerful cold cyclone that brought snowdrifts and large-scale flooding. In the Atacama Desert in Chile, one of the driest places on the planet, snow fell for the first time in 10 years. White shroud on scorched earth looked like scenery for a nuclear winter movie. Europe turned into a giant frying pan. In Spain and Portugal, thermometer columns rose to plus 46 degrees, and north of Lisbon they recorded a reading of plus 48 degrees. This is already equivalent to extreme heat stress. In Seville, 40-degree heat holds for several days in a row, and nighttime temperatures don't drop below 25 degrees. The Mediterranean Sea warmed to plus 28 degrees, temperature more characteristic of tropical resorts. This abnormally warm water doesn't allow air in coastal zones to cool even at night, creating an effect of a giant natural bath from which it's impossible to escape. In Italy, the number of hospitalizations increased by a third. People are officially recommended not to go outside from 11:00 a.m. to 6:00 p.m. France faced an unprecedented situation. For the first time in meteorological observation history, heat warnings affected practically all regions of the country. Even the legendary Eiffel Tower temporarily stopped working due to abnormal weather. But the most terrible thing is not individual records, but the systematic nature of what's happening. Scientists from the University of Pennsylvania discovered an alarming pattern. Over the past 75 years, the frequency of extreme weather events has tripled. If in the mid-20th century, heat waves, droughts, and torrential rains occurred once per season, now they are recorded 3 times in one summer. Statistics tell us that the most terrible heat wave in history happened in 2010. It lasted 55 days and claimed the lives of about 60,000 people. This is the population of an entire regional center. For 33 days in a row in Moscow, maximum temperature exceeded plus 35 degrees, turning the capital into a giant furnace under open sky. Modern medicine recognizes heat waves as the most dangerous natural phenomenon in terms of human losses. More people suffer from them than from hurricanes, tornadoes, and floods combined. But death from heat often remains unnoticed. It comes quietly without dramatic scenes and destruction that news outlets love to show. But heat kills not only directly, it destroys all infrastructure of modern civilization. Energy systems crack at the seams under the load of millions of air conditioners working at the limit of possibilities. In Europe, rolling blackouts have already begun. Electrical networks designed for moderate climates simply cannot withstand such load. Nuclear power plants are forced to reduce production due to overheating.
And the hotter it gets, the worse it's going to get, Israel. Because the earth is heating up. And that's what they don't understand. And that's because of this planet. Every time they turn on HAARP, to try to alter the weather, to try to make it rain or snow, Nibiru intensifies the heat. When they can't handle it or deal with it. But this is their doing. This is the outcome for not listening. This heat.
When river water heats to critical temperatures, reactor cooling systems cannot work in normal mode. Urban environment turns into a giant trap. Concrete and asphalt accumulate heat during the day and release it at night, creating a heat island effect. Temperature in cities is 5-10 degrees higher than in surroundings. People become hostages of their own civilization, those very cities they built for comfortable living. The United States of America this season also found itself at the epicenter of a climate storm unfolding with the scale of a Hollywood blockbuster, but with real consequences. Phoenix, a city in the Arizona desert for the first time in 7 years, surpassed the 100-degree Fahrenheit mark already on April 10. This is equivalent to almost 38 degrees Celsius, and this is in spring. The team of long-term forecasters warned, this is only a preview of the climate hell that awaits Americans this summer. From July to August, temperature over most of the country's territory will significantly exceed historical average values. Heat will strike particularly cruelly at the northern Rocky Mountains and Great Plains, where temperature records may be broken repeatedly during one season. This means that regions traditionally considered moderate in climate will turn into scorching deserts where survival will become a daily struggle with forces of nature. But America will face not only heat, climate models predict severe drought over a significant territory of the country, which will create a threat to food security and economy. Simultaneously with drought, some regions will face the opposite problem: destructive storms and flooding. This paradox is explained by disruption of familiar circulation patterns in the atmosphere. An example of such madness is summer 2018, when fires raged in the western USA and deadly heat persisted while endless rains poured for months in the east. Such weather held for almost a month, turning the country into a blanket of extreme weather phenomena. Looking into the near future, scientists paint a picture that resembles a disaster movie script more than a scientific forecast. What we're experiencing now is not a temporary anomaly that will soon end and allow return to familiar life. This is a new reality in which humanity must learn to survive. Long-term climate models paint a dangerous picture of the coming decade. The European Center for Medium-Range Weather Forecast predicts that the continent will be divided into two regions with radically opposite weather conditions. Western Europe will be dominated by storms and relatively cool weather, while eastern areas will turn into a scorched desert under the influence of blocking anticyclones. Between these two climate zones, a belt of extreme instability will form, where short periods of unbearable heat will be replaced by powerful frontal systems generating destructive storms. For example, in one city, temperature can drop from 40 degrees to plus 15 degrees in 24 hours, accompanied by hail the size of tennis balls and hurricane winds. Climatologist Mikhail Markin warns that June, July, and August 2025 may enter the top 3 hottest months in the entire history of meteorological observations, and may even break the 2010 record. But heat is only one side of climate chaos. The interaction of overheated and cold air masses will create favorable conditions for the emergence of weather phenomena that were previously considered impossible in our latitudes. Heavy rains, hail, thunderstorms, and even hurricanes of tropical force may strike regions that have never faced such natural disasters. Scientists from NASA have already found an explanation for the mechanism that turns our planet into a climate time bomb. These are the very Rossby waves, powerful air currents in the upper layers of atmosphere that determine weather on Earth. Under normal conditions, these waves pass through all of Eurasia in a few days, but now they periodically hang over continents for weeks and even months. When a Rossby wave is blocked over Europe, it creates an area of stable high pressure that holds masses of sultry air, not allowing them to move. Simultaneously, cold air masses from Siberia shift south, where they collide with warm fronts, generating catastrophic downpours and flooding in completely unexpected places. Accelerated Arctic warming is another key factor of climate madness. Here, temperature grows 3 to 4 times faster than in the rest of the planet. This reduces temperature difference between equator and poles. This makes jet streams more viscous. They lose speed and become unstable, creating conditions for formation of blocking systems. Russia will definitely find itself at the epicenter of these changes. Climate in the country is changing twice as fast as the planetary average. The reasons for this accelerated warming lie in geographical features. 2/3 of the country is located in polar latitudes, where climate changes manifest most vividly, and continentality of climate means that land heats faster than ocean. A specialist in global environmental catastrophes explains this process in simple words. Global warming occurs in such a way that temperature gradually equalizes on the planet. In polar areas, temperature grows faster than at the equator. This means that Russia will be the first to feel the consequences of climate collapse. Extreme heat that used to happen once per century will now cover the country 3 times more often. Heat waves similar to those in 2010 will become a regular phenomenon. Almost every summer will be a survival test. Every hot week, a potential catastrophe. The UN Secretary General has already officially stated, extreme heat is no longer a rare phenomenon. It has become the new normal. This means that humanity has entered an era when fighting climate will become the main problem.